The day I bought my mountain property in Colorado, I knew exactly why I wanted it. Not for the luxury house, not for the investment, and definitely not for the HOA community surrounding it. I bought it for the view. Every morning the mountains glowed gold under the sunrise, and every evening the valley below looked like something out of a movie. It was peaceful, quiet, and worth every dollar I spent. But peace never lasts long when someone like Karen lives nearby. Karen was the HOA president, and she treated the neighborhood like it was her personal kingdom. Expensive red blazer, luxury SUV, clipboard always in her hand, she walked around acting like she owned every driveway, every mailbox, and apparently every mountain too. The trouble started the moment construction markers appeared on my property line. I had legally approved plans for a fence. Nothing outrageous, just a strong modern design to protect the edge of my rocky land from wildlife and erosion. Every permit had already been signed by the county before construction even began. But the second Karen saw the survey flags, she stormed onto my property like a woman preparing for war. She pointed toward the mountains and snapped, "That fence is going to block my view." I calmly explained that the fence would remain entirely on my land and fully within legal height limits. But Karen didn't care about rules. She cared about control. Then she said the sentence that changed everything. "If your property affects my mountain view," she said, "then maybe you should start paying rent for it." I remember staring at her for a second, wondering if she actually heard herself speak. Then she climbed back into her SUV and drove away looking proud of herself. But that night, sitting alone on my porch watching the sunset, I started thinking about her ridiculous comment. And suddenly, I got an idea. 2 weeks later, construction trucks began arriving before sunrise. Karen probably assumed I was building a normal wooden fence. Instead, I upgraded the project completely. 60 feet of reinforced transparent glass panels. Crystal clear, weather resistant, modern, elegant, and most importantly, fully legal. The installation crew worked for days along the edge of my mountain property, while neighbors gathered nearby pretending not to stare. By the time the final panel was secured into place, the entire hillside looked like something from a luxury architectural magazine. And technically, the mountains were still perfectly visible through the glass. Karen nearly lost her mind. She marched across the road in complete disbelief, staring at the massive transparent wall reflecting sunlight directly toward her property. The mountains still showed through perfectly, but now every reflection bounced across her dining room windows. During sunset, she demanded I remove it immediately. Instead, I handed her a folded document, a private scenic access agreement, monthly viewing access fee included. Her face turned bright red. I looked directly at her and said, "If my property provides you $1 million mountain view, technically you're benefiting from private scenery." The neighborhood with gossip after that. By the next morning, people were slowing their cars down just to look at the fence. Some neighbors thought it was hilarious. Others admitted the glass actually made the neighborhood look more modern and expensive. Karen hated every second of it. 3 days later, she called an emergency HOA meeting inside the clubhouse. She claimed the fence was damaging community harmony and creating visual discomfort, but nobody could explain how a transparent fence blocked anything. Then the county inspector arrived. Karen looked confident walking into the inspection, probably expecting fines or violations. Instead, the inspector complimented the engineering and called it one of the cleanest property installations he'd seen all year. That moment completely destroyed her argument. Ironically, the fence started improving property values nearby. Real estate agents began photographing it during luxury home tours. Contractors visited my property asking questions about the design. One local architecture magazine even requested permission to feature the project in an upcoming issue. Karen watched all of this happen from across the street with pure frustration written across her face. Still, she refused to stop. She photographed the fence daily. She complained about reflections. She filed HOA reports claiming the glass caused emotional stress. At one point, she even argued that reflected birds looked too distracting from her breakfast table. The county clerk actually laughed, reading one of her complaints. Meanwhile, neighbors slowly stopped supporting her. People were tired of unnecessary HOA drama, tired of constant complaints, tired of living under someone who acted like she controlled the entire neighborhood. And honestly, the neighborhood became calmer once people stopped listening to her. I added elegant landscaping around the fence, stone walkways, evening lighting. At night, the glass reflected the stars so clearly it almost disappeared into the mountains themselves. What started as a property dispute slowly became the nicest feature in the entire neighborhood. Then, election season arrived for the HOA board. Karen gave one final speech about protecting neighborhood standards, but nobody really listened anymore. The same people who once feared her now avoided eye contact completely. And when the votes were counted, Karen lost her position as HOA president. The silence afterward was honestly the best part. No more emergency meetings. No more pointless complaints. No more angry clipboard patrols around the neighborhood. Just peace. Months later, the community felt completely different. Neighbors, started talking more, families spent evenings outside again. Community events actually became enjoyable instead of stressful. One older neighbor said something during a barbecue beside the glass fence that stuck with me forever. Good fence. Don't divide people, he said. They reveal who respects boundaries. Turns out he was right. Eventually, even Karen stopped fighting. She spent more time gardening quietly outside her house and less time trying to control everyone else's property. Maybe she finally understood that respecting boundaries works both ways. And every morning when the sun rises behind those mountains, the glass panels reflect the light across the entire valley like a mirror. Beautiful, calm, peaceful, exactly how it should have been from the beginning. Karen wanted my fence removed because she thought she owned the view. Instead, she accidentally inspired the most iconic property in the neighborhood. And honestly, I should probably thank her for that. If you enjoyed this HOA revenge story, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more cinematic HOA drama stories every week. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today?